Welcome to the Secret Sauce of Outsourcing podcast that's dedicated to making you better at working with OFS, Online Filipino Specialists. This is episode 163, the current COVID situation in the Philippines. So I remember when COVID started and we used to think that in the future, COVID would be a thing of the past and we would get rid of it and things would be back to normal. That's a thing of the past, that thought. We are mostly back to normal, but normal is different today. I remember my wife when this, like March 18th or March 14th or whenever it happened in 2020, she said, "Oh, we'll be back to school in 2 weeks." And I was like, I don't really think so, but she just kept it up. 2 more weeks. And then we all know the story now. So now we look at COVID like it's the common cold or the flu, and like you don't want to get it, but you're going to get it at some point. Everybody's going to get it. And we just have to manage it when you do. So in the Philippines, they were slower than in the US to manage this. And not slower to manage it, but so here's what happened in the Philippines. COVID happened, they shut the country down. Instantly, do not leave your house. And they started giving out passes to people like, here's the one person in the house who could leave the house. Here's the time of week that you're allowed to leave. Here's where you're allowed to go. And they had police arresting people in the streets if you violated it. Their lockdown lasted longer than a lot of the world. The Philippines still has the mask mandate. Masks are still required everywhere. But businesses are now back to being open. Basically, all businesses are open. Travel is acceptable now because of the mask mandate. Case spikes are much less. People are still being hospitalized, but there's enough beds now to handle it. So COVID is manageable in the Philippines. So because of global supply chain issues, the Philippines still struggles with like normal things. Pharmacies will run out of ibuprofen still, or vitamins are more expensive than in the past. So there are still definite effects from COVID. So let me talk about hospitalization and costs. So costs are manageable in the Philippines. If you're hospitalized with COVID, it's still more expensive relative to how much people make than in the US. First of all, if people are up to date on PhilHealth, which most people should be, but not all are, and you don't have a severe infection, then the cost is gonna be like $450 to $900 for that infection. So that's manageable. It's just not cheap. If you have private health insurance, your health insurance should cover this for you. However, if you have a severe case and you don't have PhilHealth, you get confined to the hospital, then treatment is expensive. And we're talking there's an article that Julia sent me, like $18,000 or more to cover this, which, that's not reasonable. And so that's why I add a stipend to my workers for their PhilHealth, and I expect them to pay their PhilHealth. And then we add on health insurance on top of that. And really, we add on health insurance because it's cheaper for us, because we have a big team. We have people that have worked for us for a long time. If they get sick, we want them to go to the doctor. We want them to go to the hospital, and we don't want to pay the full cost of their health care, which, if they can't pay, then they can't work. And that's a problem. That's worst case. That's worse for us. So we pay for health insurance. It's actually quite reasonable. I have other podcasts about it, and I have blog posts about it that you can find. Hopefully we can link to it in this one. Hopefully my team will hear this and then link to it as I talk about it. I don't really know what they'll do, but hopefully that happens. If it does, then my team's doing something right. They're listening and they're paying attention and they're getting links in.